In 2009, the US Mint celebrated both the 200th anniversary of the birth of former President Abraham Lincoln in 1809 and the centennial since the Lincoln cent was first introduced into circulation in 1909. This was done with the release of 4 special circulating commemorative coin designs on the 1-cent coin, though these coins were minted in proof versions for the collector market as well as coins for everyday commerce. In so doing, utilizing all 3 working mints, namely Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, excepting for West Point, with the proof coins remaining the exclusive domain of the San Francisco Mint, as has become the norm. The 4 coins struck celebrate the progress and procession of Abraham Lincoln's life, for so far as it is possible in an artistic medium such as this, beginning with his birth and early childhood in Kentucky from 1809 to approximately 1816, depicting the simple log cabin that served as the familial shelter during these early years of his life, and reflect Lincoln's humble beginnings. The second coin strives to span his formative years in Indiana from 1816 to 1830, where he became renowned as a wrestling champion and rail splitter. He was tall, strong, and had a seemingly insatiable love of reading, though the poverty of his youth meant that he was largely self-educated. The coin depicts Lincoln taking a break from his back-breaking work as a log splitter to read a book. The third coin covers Lincoln's professional life and political career from approximately 1830 to 1861 in Illinois, working and serving in a myriad of roles, including storekeeper, captain of the militia, and lawyer, leading him eventually to politics on a national scale. And then the last coin is dedicated to his historic tenure as the 16th President of the United States, from 1861 to 1865 in Washington, D.C., depicting Capitol Hill, still under construction in the background. Now, in terms of variety coins, most of the interest on this issue is centered around the formative years coin, and especially Lincoln's hands and the book that he is holding, beginning with the FS 808 variety, where Lincoln's index finger is doubled widely towards the north and almost seems to merge with the spine of the book. This variety is also sometimes called the skeletal finger variety. An example of this variety was sold at auction in 2024, housed in a PCGS slab with a grade of MS66 red for $75. On the next coin, there is still some debate as to exactly what the cause of the doubling is, whether or not it is the thumb that is doubled towards the south or the index finger that is doubled far to the north. In either case, there is a partial extra finger just below Lincoln's thumb to be found on this coin. In 2023, a PCGS graded MS66 red example of this FS807 variety was sold at auction for the sum of $360. Although I should probably note that prices such as this are more the exception rather than the norm, as in 2024, a CACG graded coin, this time MS65 red, was also sold for a more modest $58. Then we have the first of what is termed by some as the 2 fingers variety. This coin is better known as the FS806 type. On this coin, we see once again a doubling of the index finger just below the thumb. But in addition to that, there is also what appears to be an impression of the upper spine of the book just below the thumb, what almost appears as a spike coming out of the thumb. Apparently, Lincoln is also Wolverine. In 2023, a PCGS graded example of this seldomly seen variety was sold in a grade of MS66 plus red for $408. For our next coin, we find doubling, not towards the top, but instead towards the bottom of the hand. You can look towards the bottom of the book. There appears to be an extra finger or unusually long pinky finger sticking out. This once again seems to be the index finger that is here doubled widely towards the south. Then, in addition to that, and much more subtle, there is also a small tip of an additional thumb right on the edge of the spine of the book to the top of the middle of the actual index finger. This coin saw an example graded by PCGS as MS66 Red, which was sold at auction in 2025 for the price of $154. Now, the next variety is one of the stronger varieties and definitely one of the more obvious ones to easily spot. Here, there is a strong additional finger, again, a doubling of the index finger, right in the middle, between the index finger and the thumb. Pretty straightforward, all in all. Although I should mention that this variety and the next coin we will look at are very easily confused for one another, so we'll take a look at that in just a minute. But first, there was a PCGS graded example of this FS804 variety, graded as MS66 Red, sold at auction in 2025 for the grand sum of $58. Now, as I mentioned, the next coin down on the list is the FS803 variety for the Formative years penny, and it too has an additional finger right in between the index finger and the thumb, just to the north of the spine of the book. Comparing the two, you can see how they can easily be confused with one another, but I find at least that the easiest way to tell them apart is to look at the length of the extra finger. The FS804 coin from just before is slightly longer, almost extending past the thumb, whereas the 803 coin is shorter in comparison. And in 2023, a PCGS graded MS66 example of this coin was sold at auction, where it managed to raise a price of $408. Another strong two fingers variety is up next, and on this coin there is an additional index finger, or at least a partial one, right under the thumb. It really is quite a spectacular variety, and really quite unmissable too. A small portion of the middle finger is then also seen just below that, where it looks like it is peeking out from the palm. In addition to all of this doubling on the hand, there is also a diagonal line running across the top of the book as well on this particular variety, which is likely doubling of the cover of the book. This is one of the headline varieties for this issue, and in accordance with that, then we have an auction result from 2025 for a PCGS graded MS67 Red example that was sold for $2,025. And then we can look towards one more boldly doubled two-finger variety for this coin. Much like the previous variety, here too we can see two additional fingers doubled in the space between the thumb and the index finger. Only in this case, the doubling is significantly more dramatic. For this coin, we have an example sold at auction in 2024 in a PCGS slab with a grade of MS67 Red that was able to secure a final price of $398. Now, not wanting to be left out of the party, the San Francisco Mint also joined in and struck a proof 2009 Formative years variety cent that you can look for. Here, the doubling takes place directly towards the top of the index finger, right between the knuckle and the spine of the book. And this proof-only coin is represented by an example that was sold at auction in 2023, graded as PCGS Proof 69 Deep Cameo for $780. Now, there are more minor double die varieties for this series out there as well, but these are essentially all the varieties that all of the major third-party graders will slab as varieties, and as such are the easiest ones to sell if you find them as well. Subscribe to WNN and feel free to watch another video about modern Lincoln cent varieties right here. Next, for the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.